Guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. So, what's the deal with Xbow? Archer's got a buff, Ice, Spirit got a buff, but Earthquake is everywhere. I am not alone, guys. I'm joined by SK to break it down for us. SK, what's up, my man? How you doing?
Doing really well, Ash. Really glad to be back. How are you doing?
I am fantastic, dude. I hit a new personal best last season, man.
Yeah, I saw you mention it in your video. That's really great, actually.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should be
yeah. It was
proud of
cool.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing too impressive at all, but, you know, it's nice to make some progress, you know? So I've been loving Graveyard, but I have to tell you, I don't know much about Expo, right? So why don't you break things down?
Right.
First, I want you to comment on actually the mirror of all things first, because I see you playing it in this
Okay.
12-win Grand Challenge. What are your thoughts on mirror?
Yeah.
Is it really a good option for Expo decks? Clearly, it's a viable option, seeing as you just won with it.
Okay, so honestly, Mirror is one of the most unexpected, like, dark horses of the balance changes. Everyone thought, it was a crazy change, how it's just kind of out of nowhere. Mirror's like a meme card or whatever, but it's actually just straight up buffing it by one level. Is I don't think something anyone expected. Most people thought it would need to be, like, mirroring one level less and costing the same elixir, but this change actually makes it really viable because you just don't get that advantage in an even level playing field anymore. But with mirror, you get just straight up +2 levels. So to your point about it in Expo, I think it actually works quite nicely. I think it works really well mostly in any cycle deck. So Earthquake cycle decks with Royal Hogs, Expo cycle, it works pretty well, and Three Musketeers, it probably also works well with Pump. I think you made a video on that the other day as well.
Indeed, yeah. You're
So
right.
yeah,
It fits in a lot of decks, you know? Kind of cool.
yeah, I think it's good because it's like it provides a new creative opportunity that's actually viable now instead of just being for fun. So yeah, I definitely think it can work really well and very unexpected but very viable.
I think you hit the nail on the head there too, SK, when you mentioned that unexpected, right? And I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
like, wait, this is unhealthy for the game, mirror, unhealthy. But I think it's just based on what we know, right? Like, we've never experienced the game where mirror was viable. So it feels almost kind of like we recognize mirror as being a cheesy kind of fun card to mess around with, not a strategic option. So it makes us change the way we look at the game, right, a little bit. You have to be prepared for mirror. You have to change your strategy for mirror. You have to always be aware of mirror, and people just are not used to that. So I don't think it's necessarily unhealthy or bad for the game personally, but we'll see if it becomes just too strong with 2 full levels, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It'll take some time to get adjusted to.
For sure. Okay, so what do you think, final question on mirror, is what are your pro friends saying about mirror? What are the thoughts in the pro circles?
I think they're mostly saying it's pretty fun and like surprisingly viable, like I mentioned. Like it's not just kind of a joke card anymore. You can't take it as a joke, but it is also based on the meta. Like people, especially the pros, are complaining about mirror with Pump and with Earthquake. I think those are the 2 big ones because Pump is another huge winner of the balances, and Earthquake's been meta for what 6 months now, and with such a cheap cost and so much damage for its cost, mirror just amplifies that by 2 levels. So yeah, I think those 2 cards are what the pros are definitely the most upset about in terms of the mirror.
Makes sense. Seeing a lot of Earthquake cycle decks. So talk to me about Expo, the Archers and the Ice Spirit. What is the state of Expo, given that you just mentioned that Earthquake is still everywhere as well?
Right, so actually Expo before this buff is in, I know like people, including myself, say this all the time, but one of the worst spots it's been because if you just look at the statistics, last season only 3 Expo players finished top 100 on ladder, and none of them are with conventional Expo variants. They were all with Expo, Archer Queen, and Rocket, actually. So no, standard Expo cycle with Fireball, any of that. And it's really just a testament to the meta because I think Expo as a card is not very strong by itself, but Queen just helped Expo so much that it actually became viable. Like my friends were finishing top 10, top 20 in the world with it a few seasons. But this time, Earthquake's really taken a toll on the meta, and with so much Hog Earthquake cycle, Royal Hogs Earthquake cycle, it's just a really tough meta for Expo. So I think this change was definitely warranted, and really happy about it.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and play some live matches. SK, your replay just finished.
Yeah,
Nice job
sure.
on the 12 win. Are you playing the mirror version today, or are you switching to like the normal 3.0?
All right, I think I'll play 3.0 with Ice Spirit just to kind of get a first glance at the newly buffed, Ice Spirit and how it functions in the deck.
Sounds great. All right, we'll come back when we find a match.
Okay,
All right.
so
Yeah.
I'm gonna cycle Ice Spirit at the start. It's the play I like to make, and I've played with it a little bit already, and I honestly feel like the freeze is already very noticeable. Like that is a huge, 30% is a huge number.
It is.
Yeah, so it's just great.
So
It
you
looks
think
like
that
we're up against
overall,
Goblin Drill here.
so you think that
Yeah.
overall it's a net win with the buffs, given that Earthquake is going to be super, super, super meta for Xbow players?
Yeah, I would say it is because, worst case, you know, Expo is just better than before. Like, if Expo wasn't buffed, it would just be worse
Sure.
with Earthquake being good. So some kind of change is just really welcome, honestly.
Are you
And
as
I'm gonna go
shocked as
for Expo
everybody
now,
else?
'cause-
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, just because I think he overcommitted a little bit. And wow, he's okay. That's gonna be another winner of the balance changes. The giant
The giant
skeleton.
skeleton.
Yeah, buffed the damage and HP, so a bit unexpected there, but we do get a connection. Yeah, sorry. What was your question?
No, you get some nice damage nonetheless, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, not bad. I forgot what my question was going to be, so go on with the match.
Oh, okay, my bad.
No, not at all.
But yeah,
yeah,
giant
go ahead.
skeleton. Yeah, just another unexpected winner. I'm seeing a lot of people enjoying using it. Wow, we see a mirror goblin drill coming in. I'm actually not even sure how to defend against this, and I think I'll go for a low log and then cycle back to a knight. And my
Sure.
knight doesn't even one-shot those goblins, so.
Oh my god.
Wow, yeah.
I was going to ask you, actually,
then-
I remember now, about the Skeleton King. Are you surprised, as everybody else seems to
Yeah.
be, that they did not touch him?
Yeah, I'm actually a bit frustrated that it didn't get nerfed because I think champions have just been so polarizing in
Yeah.
the meta. And I understand that people want them to be because, you know, new rarity, they should be strong. Gonna fireball here, maybe catch him off guard. Looks like he wasn't expecting that.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so I think, you know, people are really actually frustrated because champions with their 3-card cycle kind of broke the game in a way. Like, it's a revolutionary way to play the game. And Skelly King is so good because there are other buffs in the recent metas. Like, you know, Hunter was buffed, Musketeer was buffed to kind of act as substitutes to the Archer Queen. And so if you're not available, if you're not able to use Archer Queen, you can use Skelly King and use those substitutes to their full effect. So like there's a really good Royal Giant Skeleton King deck with Hunter, for example. Just like the buff, I mean the lack of a change to the Skelly King is just a bit ridiculous, but looks like he gave up here.
Yeah, well played, too. Well played.
But yeah, I would have liked to see it balanced at least a little bit.
I agree, and it's you mentioned the 3-card cycle and how it changed the game. I think that's something we don't talk about enough here, right? And when you add mirror to the mix too, it's almost like you're running like a 2.5 card cycle or something crazy like that, right? Because if you have a champion with mirror, right? Because then it's just like it's really frustrating to go against sometimes because their cycle is literally 2 or 3 cards depending on how they use the mirror, you know?
Yeah, and especially like I mentioned with Earthquake, say they, you know, that Royal Hog's Earthquake meta deck that's been meta for
You can
6
keep
months.
searching,
I'm
by
sure
the way,
most
too.
people know it.
Yeah.
All right, okay, yeah. They can just go Queen, then they can go Earthquake, Mirror Earthquake, Skeletons, Fire Spirit, and they're back to another Earthquake. So that's like 4 Earthquakes and 6 cards in a way. And like,
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Earthquake cycle, man. It's yeah, that's weird. We actually had Evan on yesterday playing Electro Giant Mirror Cycle, and it was kind of the same thing.
Oh,
It was
wow.
like he wasn't even really using E-Giant as a beatdown card. He was almost using it on the defensive end and cycling Earthquakes with Tornado, Earthquake. It was like 4 spells in the deck, you know? And it was Mirror, obviously, as well. And it was crazy, you know, to see a beatdown card played in a controlled fashion. But it really, you know, it was just a super fast deck with E-Giant. So yeah, it's weird to see this sort of a shift in the meta, but I don't know, man. Like, I think we're probably on the same page, with a few exceptions of like cards that weren't touched and stuff like that, like Skeleton King. I find it refreshing. I find it refreshing in a way. So, tell us, for newer viewers, you've been on the channel quite a few times with Xbow. Tell us, for newer viewers, like, kind of, how are you playing this deck? Kind of give us the fundamentals to playing Xbow for maybe somebody who hasn't picked it up in a while or ever.
okay, so generally with Expo, what you're trying to do is if your opponent has a good counter to your Expo, you're trying to either wait for them to play it or try and outcycle it. So a big part of that comes with patience in playing your Expos. So one of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make with this deck is they play offensive Expos too often or just at the wrong times, and they get punished for it. So with this deck, it's really about patience. It's not for everyone because of that attribute, but it's really about patience. And right here, I have to go Expo to pull the Hog because he outcycled my Tesla. So Expo is also a very creative deck where you have to find different solutions
I
to
like that.
situations. Like right there when they outcycle you, which is not very often because you're playing a cycle deck yourself. But yeah, it is a very fast cycle deck. And so I think generally if you want to pick up the deck, you should also try and learn general micro placements like, you know, Ice Spirit, Skeletons, all those important placements. But also, again, something that people don't talk about is macro, which is like your decisions when you're playing an expo and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
everybody
it's really
knows.
a lot to learn, honestly.
I was gonna say, so everybody knows not to play an expo when they have like a giant in hand or something or whatever, you know. But
Yeah.
tell me, get a little bit more nuanced here. Like when you say when's the right time and the wrong time to play an expo, you know, do you sometimes play an expo with a giant in hand, or we don't have an obvious play? Do you play a defensive expo rather than offensive expo to just force out something? Kind of, how do you approach those situations when you go against any sort of beatdown deck or any deck, which is basically every deck with some sort of a good answer to expo, at least one?
Right, so single elixir is a huge component of Expo's advantage. So like you mentioned about Giant, if I know I'm against Giant Graveyard, one of the hardest matchups, I will actually Expo in single, just trying to outcycle the deck basically, because you can go for an Expo, you can kind of let it die, and then you can try and outcycle their Giant. And so that is definitely a way you can do it. You have to kind of
It's like a
play
sacrificial
pretty
expo.
aggressively in single. Yeah, it's a big thing. Like I talk about it in my videos as well. A lot of people don't really understand. You need to let your expos die very often. It is hard to know when that's the right thing to do and when not. But generally, I would say letting expos die is a big part of it, and just kind of making like safe plays. But in some matchups, you do need to be very aggressive as well.
Okay.
So
I'll let you
yeah, it is
focus on
very
this,
nuanced.
2.6 matchup, but obviously this is a matchup people need to be familiar with as well. And so far,
Yeah,
it feels
it's
like
only
you're
a
playing it
pretty
pretty
hard
well.
matchup, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying my best, but they have a faster cycle, so it's a
Yeah.
bit difficult. I'm just I'm trying to apply pressure after he goes for hog pushes. Right here, I again have to go defensive expo because of him outcycling, and I
That
waited
little-
for him to log before I went skeletons.
Okay.
Yeah, but he is getting us on the back foot right now.
Triple elixir. He's
And
getting
here,
super
Ice Spirit
aggressive.
buff is actually pretty huge. Like right
I was
there,
gonna
Hog
say.
just stays suspended for quite a while. And now I think I have to try and make an Expo connection happen. So I have to be pretty aggressive here. And here's a trick I can use, where I pull the Hog with this Tesla out of range. So actually, look, he didn't even react to that in time. So I pulled it with the Tesla out of range. And that is a big part of Expo's gameplay, you know, making those kind of little tricks and learning your placements. It's something that, again, this deck takes a lot of dedication to learn, but
20
it's really,
seconds, and there it is. GG's.
yeah, it's well worth
man.
it because it's really fun when you
I
get
love
to
that
make
you
those
called
kind
your
of plays.
shot there. He goes, this is a little trick exactly how I planned it. Boom, done. Game over,
Yeah.
man. Well played. And to your point, you mentioned it there, SK. First of all, two things. I'd be remiss if I did not give another big shout out to your YouTube channel. Go ahead, and how often do you upload right now?
Oh yeah, I basically upload every day right now. Actually, I've been working really hard at it.
Oh, heck yeah.
And
I'll
I've been
have that
growing a lot,
linked,
so it's great.
pinned comment as well for you guys. But we're not over yet. One more match?
Yeah, thanks so much.
One
Yeah,
more
let's
match?
go.
Okay, cool.
All right, I'll search right now.
All right. Here we go.
All right, found it right away.
Who was that last opponent you had? Did you remember the name?
I didn't actually. I just know it was 2.6.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Tombstone is weird. Because I sometimes don't know what to do against it. Like, it just sits there, so sometimes I literally just log it like that.
Sure.
But I'm not sure if it's the right play. But yeah.
There he goes, your arch nemesis, the Skeleton King. I was gonna say too, the Ice Spirit though. Going back to, you mentioned it as well. But
Oh,
boy,
yeah.
the Ice Spirit was really MVP there a few times in that match. Really stalling that
Yeah,
log up
definitely
for a lot of
saved
extra
me.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed it so much. I definitely noticed it more than the archers change, and Skeleton King unfortunately splashes my tower there. But I will Expo to counter push because he did just use his big spell. Oh, another big Expo fundamental. You basically never want to be going same lane in matchups where the opponent has a fast cycle and a big spell that's good against your Expo, like Poison, Earthquake. Expo's definitely an opposite lane deck for the most part because they can get spell value on your Expo plus tower.
Okay.
Right here's an exception because he just uses Poison, but
I was
yeah.
gonna say, yeah, okay. And you get so much
And-
damage. You force out an awkward tornado as well. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's all
really,
it takes sometimes.
really, just because he,
Yeah.
just because he overcommitted. Expo's a really hard deck to play, but it's so good because one, it can punish mistakes so well, and two, it can really beat anything if you play it well enough.
How long did you play Expo until you had this kind of developed this sixth sense to know? immediately when to act with Xbow, you know?
Probably at least a couple of years, and a lot of that was learning as well. Like I watched your, I'm sure you remember Dank Gannon. I watched your videos
Course.
of him so much,
Those
and
were way back in the
yeah,
day.
like
He was really good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So just a lot of learning, but if you're trying to learn Expo, really the best thing I can recommend is playing the game more. Because a lot of people want to watch a video and like say they're stuck in mid ladder. They want to watch a video showing how to get out of mid ladder, but really the best way to learn is playing yourself and getting used to interactions like in your own head.
Yep,
That would be my
yep,
best advice.
Yep.
Like
And
you
I
just can't get
totally-
away from the hardware.
And as I mentioned again, I promise my viewers will not mention this again after this, but I got a new PB, and it's because of that reason, right? Like, I just played more. I'm playing more, you know? I'm playing one deck only,
Yeah.
and I'm playing a lot more often, you know? And that's it.
Yep.
All right, so let's see. Nice
So right
defense
there, I used a defensive
I was going to ask you
Expo,
about that, yeah.
Yeah, so you also have to learn your placements, but that is the anti-poison placement for my right side tower. So sometimes if I'm up in a situation, I'm very happy to just defensive Expo and play the game at kind of my own pace as opposed to letting him choose his pace for the match. So defensive Expo can be really oppressive, but if you don't have a big lead, I wouldn't always recommend it because you need the Expo in your hand to go offensive.
True, okay.
But really, it's really good at like maintaining an advantage, basically.
When would you
And yeah,
defensive Expo, even if you didn't have the lead? Like, against... What's a situation where you're
So-
always defensing Expo?
It would be against, I guess, like maybe usually a matchup where just going for offensive expos for no reason wouldn't do well. So, for example, against Goblin Drill decks, one of the best expo players, 7-4, he told me that defensive expos actually mess up the opponent's cycle because they don't really have a great response to it. They have to fireball it and then just play into it. So
Okay.
it's really good against Goblin Drill, you know, expo mirror matchups, but also against any deck without a big spell. They get a ton of value. It's just that when they have a big spell, it's a bit tricky.
Well, fantastic. You've been given a ton of sage advice, as always, SK. Really appreciate you coming on, making the time. I know we're on opposite sides of the world as well, so really appreciate you staying up late and appearing here on the channel again. Where can folks find you? Again, I'll have all the links in the pinned comment and in the description below, but what can people be expecting in the next couple of days from your channel?
Right, so I'm just working on right now I'm working on a lot of new meta content. So, you know, I just made a video like literally an hour ago about Expo getting buffed and like how I talked about it and pushed to top 400 on ladder with it. Also, I'm looking at, you know, Expo Mirror, Expo with Elixir Pump. Like, you can probably tell I'm a big fan of Expo, so just a lot of Expo content, but I'm actually trying to diversify as well. So I'm trying to make, you know, videos on other decks too, and it's really great that people enjoy that content too. So yeah, just basically daily videos of either ladder or challenges, usually.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be looking forward to checking out that content. You guys, hey, might as well go watch that video right now. SK, thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ash. Been a pleasure.
Likewise, man. Big shout out to Stutts, Royale, to Glitch, and to Bren Chong, my YouTube partners. Check out their information in the description below as well. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.